This morning from the Builders Do It Center is Justin Ellis. Good morning, Justin. How you doing?
Morning, Mike. I am fantastic, buddy.
How's life treating you?
You know what? I'm pretty darn good. I can't complain. So, a little rough weather at the first of the week, which is always interesting in our business, but the rest of the week's been crazy busy, and life's good.
About the time I was moving, that's when it was. But
yeah, you timed that really well, by the way. You should probably have avoided that given the choice.
Yeah, well, we lucked out. Well, I mean, think about it. How often does it rain? Like, it's the 2 days a year rains we pick. That's the day that's going to move. So
true. I know that feeling. Yeah. It won't rain for 6 weeks, and then I'll decide it's time to finally wash my pickup. And oh, wait a minute, where's that cloud coming from?
That's right. All of a sudden, we got an all-day rain. Look at that. Got a question for you.
Shoot.
As far as this time of year, is it generally a busy time in the contracting world, or pretty dead, or is it steady all the time?
You know, it's funny. It's highly weather dependent. So we always have a pretty big burst of business, both on the contractor side and retail walk-in business whenever the weather gets good.
Sure.
The fact that it's been kind of on and off good has been interesting. We've had some really slow days, and today is going to go down as one of the busier days we've ever had. Our normal delivery load looks like something we'll do 10 or 12 deliveries all day long.
Sure.
We had 19 deliveries scheduled for today before we closed yesterday.
Oh, wow.
We're already up to 23 when I walked out of the door about 15 minutes ago. That's busier than normal. That's insanely busy for a Friday. So this is a little weird for February.
Yeah.
If this was March or April, I'd say, yeah, that's about normal, but February, it's odd.
So you're going to see a lot of Builders Do It Center trucks hitting the roads today,
yes,
delivering products to different job sites.
We've got trucks all over town. I got trucks in Artesia and Hobbs and Carlsbad today, Ruidoso, Albuquerque. We are all over the place today.
Very good. So,
yeah.
And if you need, they still got more trucks to get your stuff if you need it. So
absolutely. If you need anything, delivery is really key to who we are. If you need something brought to you and you can't haul it in your own vehicle, or you don't want to haul it in your own vehicle, we have a fleet of about 8 trucks in Roswell and 2 in Artesia. And, we don't charge for delivery in town normally. And, we'd be happy to do that.
Sure.
We have not only the trucks, but the equipment to unload the trucks. We have a forklift that mounts on our trucks that allows us to unload, and we even have a 43-foot reach boom truck. So we can actually crane material up onto a roof and put shingles on a roof for you, or drywall into a second-story window or third-story or fourth-story window. So definitely a capability that nobody else has that we are pretty proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess even if, say you're doing some, I don't know, we'll say maybe putting pavers down in your backyard or something, you could drive it up the alley and probably lift it right up and drop it into the backyard.
Absolutely. We can, part of our goal with our delivery service is to make sure that we do as much work for you before your real work starts. The reality is projects are hard enough as they are. We don't want the logistics of it to be the hard part. That's what we do. That's what we try to do well. And, we want to help you with that. So let us do some of that work for you.
Sure. So come on down today, do some shopping, and get that stuff set up.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, as you know, we talk about different home projects all the time, whether it's flooring or backyard barbecues or decks, things like that. Well, today's in the same vein, but slightly different. There's been we hear like terms like reclaimed wood have kind of entered into our vocabulary here over the last 5, 6, 7 years or so, things like that. And so there is kind of a growing trend of reclaiming projects, taking furniture that at one point most people just thrown in the dump or would have broke up and turned into firewood, whatever. But now there's a lot of people that are wanting to say, you know what, I can strip this, I can re-solidify it, I can paint it, or I can do these different things and take this old dresser and turned it into a brand new high-end piece of furniture.
Absolutely. And with spring upon us, it's starting to be garage sale season. Folks are going to do spring cleaning and cleaning out their garages and their attics, and hopefully there's going to be some opportunities to get some of those garage sale and flea market finds. And what we really want to do is give you the tools and the information so that if you're standing there looking at a piece of furniture and you're going, man, I really like this piece of furniture, but it's got a few issues. What can I do about it? And kind of give you those steps to repairing that and bringing that piece of wood back to life. Now, these tips and techniques go for furniture, they go for doors, millwork, cabinets, almost anything made of wood.
Gotcha.
And so if you've got wood in your home that's got layers of paint on it, or it's been stained and painted, and you want to see what's under there and bring it back to its original beauty instead of replacing it, that's really a great way to go. Wood's really a resilient product, and it's a very durable and flexible material.
Sure.
And taken care of properly and restored properly, you can restore life to something that's brought joy and been functional for somebody for a lot of years. You can do the same in your home for many years to come.
Sure. Let me ask you, just before we get too deep into this, sometimes you look at projects and people say someone takes like a wood and you look at something and it's like a wood deal and it's a natural, maybe they didn't stain or anything, it's kind of, maybe they just put some protective on it, and then you get someone that comes and paints over it and all that, and you look at them like, man, you just committed a crime here. It's kind of like you get some guys with like classic vintage cars and they try to modernize them or something like that. People consider that like you broke a 10 commandment kind of deal.
I've seen that before. I'm a wood guy at heart, and so I love anytime we can see wood grain. But in all honesty, even if you're repainting a piece because paint's the right finish for it,
sure,
the steps still apply. But yeah, it's always a shame to cover up something beautiful with paint.
Is there a way to bring that back without
absolutely.
really damaging that wood? That's the
absolutely,
trick.
And that's one of the things we're going to talk about is stripping those things off. Honestly, about the only thing that's really hard to undo on wood is stains.
Okay.
And not that you can't work around them, but kind of once stains in a wood, you can't really go lighter. You can try to bleach it, and there's a few tricks, but it's tricky.
Sure.
You can go darker, though. So if you've got a piece that has been stained or cabinets that have been stained, a light oak. Pickled oak was really popular at one point, although it's actually coming back because it's kind of a grayish tone, and grays are very popular right now. You can, if you have like a pickled oak or a light oak stain and you want to go to a darker, richer color, you want a red, a mahogany, or a cherry color, you can actually go darker with stains. You just can't really go lighter.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like if you're cooking, once your salt's in the food, you can't really get the salt out.
Right.
It's very similar with wood stains.
Sure, because stain relies so much on the grain, the porous part of it, and it's actually absorbing into where paint's more of a layered protective.
Exactly. In fact, paint's the easiest thing to undo on a piece of furniture. So if you're looking at a piece of furniture and it's painted and you're thinking, okay, I don't know how I want to do this, but I'm absolutely certain I don't want this paint. Taking that paint off is relatively simple to do. It's a little labor intensive and it takes some patience, but technically speaking, it's far easier to do than, say, dealing with a piece that's stained and you just don't like the color. Your options are greater.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
yeah, because there's staining. If it's already stained, unless you want to go darker, you're probably going to have to go to the paint option or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
That's very accurate.
All right. Well, do we want to start in that area, or do we want to kind of lead up to that?
No, we're actually going to start kind of talking about stripping because I want to go in order of the steps.
Okay.
And, the steps are basically stripping a piece, prepping for refinish or repairing that piece, and we'll talk a little bit about how to repair a piece of furniture, a few tips and tricks. That's almost a whole other show that we'll come back to at some point, but I'll throw you a few ideas. Then addressing color of the wood, and then finally, how do you want to protect that wood going forward? So the first step is kind of stripping or prepping that wood to receive a new coat.
Okay.
This can be very simple. If the piece is structurally in good shape and you just want to repaint it, you just need to clean it. If it needs to be a little cleaned, Windex and a rag works just fine. A little soapy water is fantastic. You just want to get anything that's on that surface. And this is any paint project. We've talked about interior and exterior paint projects. The most commonly missed step is cleaning.
Gotcha.
If you paint over dirt, the dirt's not going to stick very well and it's going to want to come off. Furniture and interior woodwork are even more so because they get oil and grease and people leave things on them.
Sure.
Cabinets get cooking grease on them, and if you try to paint over them, it's just going to end very badly. If there's a lot of dirt and product and contamination on that wood, TSP is a really good product to use. It's trisodium phosphate, and actually it's now a TSP substitute because the actual trisodium phosphate is a very strong chemical and it's rough to work with.
Gotcha.
We carry a TSP substitute. It's a powder. You mix it up with water, and you can clean a surface with it. This is also very good for getting odors out, smoke. If the piece was owned by somebody that was a smoker, it was maybe in a fire at some point, TSP is a great way to get those kinds of contaminants out.
Okay.
If it's not anything that strong, but it's just got a lot of wear and tear, and you want to just clean it before you do anything else, I actually brought a product with me. This is from a company called Formbees. Now, Formbees makes quite a few wood refinishing products, and Formbees is a division of Sherwin-Williams, who's a national leader in paints and stains and finishing products. And we carry a number of Formbees Sherwin-Williams products. They own about half the paint industry now. So, but Formbees
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of a big deal. So we carry the Formbees line from them, and Formbees Furniture Workshop products have a number of items, but one of the things I really like they have is a deep cleansing buildup remover.
Okay.
And this is specifically formulated to clean dirt and wax off of that furniture. So if somebody's used end dust on it or a paste wax,
or whatever,
Pledge, all those products, plus just dirt that builds up on it, this is a great first step. And if the piece, other than being dirty, is in good shape, this may be all you need. And this is something you can apply with a rag. You can clean it off. And it's not going to damage the wood. It's specifically formulated not to hurt the wood or strip any layers off. So that's kind of the first step. Now, if you need to go a little more extreme and you have a paint on it, or if you have like a polyurethane or a lacquer or a varnish finish on it that you need to remove, and if you're going to be staining that wood in any way, you have to remove those layers. And
otherwise
if you're not
the stain
sure,
won't take, right?
Exactly. And if you're not sure if it has a clear coat on it, it's a really simple check. You just take a little water, just a few sprinkles of water, and sprinkle them on the surface. If they absorb into the wood, then chances are pretty good that there's nothing on that surface. If they don't absorb, if they bead up, then there's definitely a finish you need to remove.
Gotcha.
So when it comes to stripping, there's a couple of ways to go. You can do manual. You can manually remove that product and scrape it, or sand it off. Use something like a 3M Scotch pad. We definitely recommend that, but I actually recommend using a combination of that and a chemical stripper.
Okay.
The chemical strippers soften and make that product easier to remove. The reality is there's not a stripper out there, a chemical stripper out there that will remove everything easily. Sometimes we'll have folks come in and I just want to spray it on and leave it and wipe it off with a paper towel.
Doesn't work that way.
Doesn't quite work that way. There's some products that are close, but
You got to put some elbow grease.
you got to put a little elbow grease just to get in the nicks and cracks, and there's some work to it regardless. So you kind of have two choices here. One is the old chemical-based. I brought a product called Zip Strip with me. Zip Strip is very aggressive. It'll take just about anything off of anything. It will even remove a little bit of stain off of a surface, but it's pretty noxious to work with. It's got a very strong odor. It's based on a chemical product that's non-organic, so you want to be very careful using something like Zip Strip. But if you're stripping something that's really tough, this is a great way to go. The other product that I really like is a citrus-based stripper. In this case, I brought a product called Smart Strip. Smart Strip is a brand we carry that I've used personally.
Okay.
It's got a very pleasant odor. It's citrus-based. It's not dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't recommend using it as like jelly on your toast or anything along those lines, but you're not going to have to use it in a well-ventilated space and feel like if you don't, you're going to pass out, which is not the case with Zip Strip. If I open this in here, you and I are both going to get a good whiff of it. The Smart Strip does not have that. And the difference is that Smart Strip's designed to remove a couple layers of paint. It softens it and then allows you to get it off more easily with mechanical methods. Zip Strip's a little closer to that put it on, wipe it off methodology. And with certain finishes like shellacs and urethanes, epoxies, the Smart Strip's not going to work. It's just not strong enough. So unfortunately, you're back to a chemical option, in which case you want to be very safe. Wear rubber gloves, work outdoors. I would still recommend wearing rubber gloves and with something like Smart Start, just because you don't want that stuff on your hands.
Sure.
It's just nasty.
Right.
It's not dangerous, but it's not pleasant by any means. One of the good things about Smart Start is there's a wash product you can use after you've removed it. It helps neutralize anything that's left behind and give you a good base to start with. So once you've applied the stripper, follow the instructions, you've wiped everything off, you want to make sure that you don't use any metal tools. You want to use plastic putty knives, plastic scrapers, just to avoid scraping and denting that wood.
Gotcha.
I would also recommend avoiding steel wool. In fact, I recommend avoiding steel wool on any application involving wood for a very simple reason. Steel wool will leave behind small pieces of steel in the wood. Well, they'll rust over time because it's just carbon steel. It's not stainless steel. It's nothing like that. So if you want to use an abrasive like a wool type product, I would recommend either using a synthetic stripping pad. 3M makes a number of products. It's just like the 3M pads you use in your sink for cleaning your dishes.
Okay.
I personally like those a lot. Or use brass wool, because brass won't rust if it leaves any shards behind. Steel wool is really intended for using on metal, and it's great for that. And so use something like the 3M pads, and that'll help you take those layers off.
Okay.
If you have multiple layers, you may have to use that multiple times to get all those layers off. The other thing to have around is a few little implements like some toothpicks.
Okay.
Toothpicks are seriously handy to have around in the workshop. So not only are they good for getting things out of your teeth after that shop lunch, you can use them for getting down in the cracks and crevices on a piece of furniture and scraping out all the stuff and making sure everything's cleaned out of there. Another thing that's great for that is dental floss.
Okay.
Dental floss is really good for getting down in those small cracks and kind of scraping and working on round surfaces. You can almost use it like a scraper that conforms to the shape.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty handy little trick. I always try to have a little fishing line, works pretty well too, but dental floss is a little gentler. So
start a business, wood refinishing and dentistry. Come on by.
Absolutely. Well, in all honesty, working on your teeth and working on wood refinishing, there's some similarities there, actually.
Sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
You've got stuff you want to get off and stuff you want to leave.
That's
and so
right.
there's a toothbrush is actually the other tool I highly recommend. We have some small brushes that have very strong nylon bristles, and they're great, but they can be a little aggressive. A soft toothbrush is really good because, yet again, those toothbrushes are engineered to get down exactly to be soft and not to hurt gums. Well, if they're not going to scratch your gums, they're not going to scratch wood.
Yeah.
And removing plaque and removing paint is not that dissimilar, actually. Plus, they always, they've got nice handles and they've got these little shapes with little spots and pieces and designed to get down in cracks and crevices. So, having toothpicks, some dental floss, and a toothbrush. Used toothbrush is just fine.
Sure.
Good place to retire your used toothbrushes too. So.
I was about to say, just don't confuse your wood scrubbing toothbrush with the actual toothbrush.
No, that would be distinctly unpleasant.
Yeah.
So, highly recommend not doing that. So once you've cleaned that piece, you've gotten all the old layers off, you're back down to that raw wood and you're happy, then you kind of have to address repairing and prepping that surface. So, a couple little tricks for repairing common problems with furniture is things like loose joints on chairs or screws that won't come in and out. Actually, you know what? I missed something on stripping. Another little trick is if you have to strip the hardware that comes on anything, it's been painted over, put it in a little thing of ammonia. Okay. Ammonia will soften that and does a pretty good job. So on the removing the paint off of brass or steel hardware, and then you can just wipe it off. But back to the same tools. Toothpick and toothbrush are very handy for this.
Gotcha.
So if you have refinished some of that hardware and when it goes back on, those screws don't fit, we're actually going to go back to our old friend, the toothpick. This is another great use for the toothpick. If you have a screw that won't go in a hole, and this applies on cabinets, if you're hanging doors, any kind of woodwork, take a toothpick or a golf tee will work if it's a bigger hole, or a matchstick, put it in there and break it off. And then when you put that screw back in, it's going to help fill that space and provide some more tension. I always have, in my workshop at home, I always have some toothpicks and some bamboo skewers and stuff like that around golf tees. And they've gotten me out of more than a few binds.
Interesting. Okay.
There's a few other products out there available to help with fixing some of those products, and we'll probably address that on a later show.
Yeah.
That furniture repair side is a whole other world, but you definitely want to address that in this stage before you do anything else, because you may need to disassemble that piece in order to get it back together in working condition.
Sure.
But if it's in good shape and you're happy with it, the next step is going to be preparing for that refinishing process. So, the most common things are you're going to want to sand that if it's got a rough surface. And the reality is you've probably raised the grain in the process of stripping it. So you want to start, anytime you're sanding, you want to start with a relatively coarse abrasive. And sandpaper and abrasives are rated by a number system. The lower the number, the more coarse the abrasive, the higher number, the more fine. So you want to start with a low number and work towards a high number. Most of the time in a furniture refinishing application or a wood refinishing application, you're going to want to start with something like 120 grit, which is kind of a medium coarse. You're not trying to remove a bunch of material. You're just trying to sand it a little bit, and you're going to work your way up. Your final sanding stage should always be something like a 220 grit or better. The finer, the better. If you're going for a really fine polish, you may want to get in a crocus cloth or something like that to really give you that super fine finish. But at the very least, you want to make sure that you've taken all that grain back down and made that surface flat and clean. And sandpaper is a good way to do that. Now, you can use paper sandpaper, you can use sanding blocks, sanding pads, whatever you want to do. If you want to use a power sander for your application, that's fantastic. You just want to make sure that the tool fits the job.
Sure.
And always remember that you want to sand with the grain on a piece of wood. A lot of beginners kind of do whatever they think they need to do. You always want to work with the grain, because if you don't, you're going to scratch that wood. If you work with the grain, you're going to bring a smoother finish to it. If you
Right.
sand across the grain, you will scratch that
And if
piece
you're
of wood.
staining, it'll show up like a champ.
Like
on there,
that.
too. Yeah.
It's amazing how fast that happens. So once you've sanded, you're going to want to look at filling any cracks, crevices, holes, large dents or scrapes. If you're staining the piece, if you do much filling, you're going to have issues because that filler's not going to stain out exactly the same color. It'll be close, and so some small holes, some small scratches, filling works just fine. But if you've got large scrapes, holes, patches, that sort of thing, that's probably the right piece to put a paint finish on.
Okay.
Because then you can fill it. Now, you got a couple of options for filling. Standard wood filler is a great product. We carry Elmer's, Minwax, DAP, a number of brands. I'm personally a big fan of Elmer's wood filler. They have a stainable product that's interior, exterior rated. It comes in a bunch of different sizes. Stains pretty well, so for small holes it's very good, but it paints even better. If you're going to be doing this, you'll want to sand those patches afterwards to make sure that they're smooth as well. I like this product because it's got wood fiber in the filler, and you want to look for, regardless of the brand, a wood filler that's got some wood fiber in it because that's going to help it blend with what's around it. It also lends some strength to the patch.
Gotcha.
Now, if you have a bigger patch and you need to do something a little stronger, so let's say the piece has got some rot to it and you need to replace a corner, Elmer's, and I didn't used to be a big fan of Elmer's products, but Elmer's has come out with a bunch of great products for wood repair. They have a damaged wood repair system. This is a 2-part epoxy system, and there's a number of these out there, but this is the one we carry. And imagine something like Bondo for wood.
Okay.
It's very similar. It's got some of the same stuff in it as their wood filler, but it hardens. So you mix it together as a 2-part epoxy. You can really make any shape you want out of it. And once it hardens, it's like wood. You can sand it, do whatever. It will stain, but it doesn't stain very well. So yet again, I would recommend this for painted applications.
Gotcha.
The other thing you want to look at is if you have rot, and this is more common in exterior woodwork, but it can happen in interior pieces. If you have some rotted wood fiber that's just a local area, before you patch or fill it, you want to make sure you stabilize that wood fiber. There's a number of products out there. We carry Elmer's Rotted Wood Stabilizer. This is a liquid that you kind of pour in there, and it'll solidify and help harden those wood fibers.
Okay.
And then you can do whatever you need to on top of them, and it's going to provide a good sound base. That's really, really important. So once you've done all those things, the last step before you go on is you want to think about doing a surface conditioner. One of the common problems, especially with pine, fir, spruce, softwood lumber, oak, and certain other hardwoods, they have a grain that tends to raise very easily, and it takes stains and finishes very unevenly. So if you are going to stain those softwoods, you want to do a surface conditioner. There's a number of ways to do this. Sanding sealer is one, which is a product. There's also surface conditioners that you can wipe on, and if you come in and talk to us, we can guide you through that. But this will provide a good, solid, consistent finish when you go to stain that product.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now you've prepared. You've decided what you need. If you're going to paint the finish on, go back and refer to our interior paint episode. It's very similar. Painting walls or woodwork, it's very similar to painting furniture.
Sure.
The rules are kind of the same. So what we really want to talk about today is kind of your non-paint finishes, so stains and clear finishes. So stains provide color, and you've got a number of options. So gel stains are very popular. We carry Minwax gel stain. We also carry Minwax regular wood stain and Cabot wood stain. Gel stains have a thickener in the product. Now, if you're working on a vertical surface or if you're staining something like fiberglass, certain wood veneers, anything that's a really tough surface to get a good consistent finish on, gel stain is a great option because it's thicker, gives you some options in terms of how to do it. Now, you have fewer color options with gel stain, but the most popular colors are definitely represented. On the other side with the Minwax and Cabot stains, you've got quite a few colors. We carry 20, 25 colors between the two lines. In addition, we have the ability to tint and create custom colors for you. So if you decide you want a blue stain, we can actually do that.
Interesting.
Which is an interesting look. Grays have become very popular. We've been tinting lots of gray stain lately. And applying stains is really about patience. Read the instructions, take your time, and test. So, if you're refinishing a dresser or a chest of drawers, turn that piece around, find a piece of wood on the back that's the same material as the wood on the front or inside a drawer somewhere else, and test a few different colors and applying it and leaving it for different amounts of time, because you'll get different colors, and you really need to determine how you want that to look before you go off and do the whole thing. Because kind of once you started, you're fairly committed with stain. Like we were talking about, you can't wipe it off really easily. So once you've stained that product, you now want to think about, how am I going to protect it? Now, if you don't want to change the color, you don't have to stain. You can go straight to a color, to a finish coat, and that's a great way to go. So you have a few options. Now, one of those options is a product called Polyshades. Polyshades is a stain and polyurethane in one product. It's very convenient. You apply it, you're done. It doesn't give you as many options with color and finish. But if you're just looking for a quick fix, you just, hey, I want to make this thing a better color than what I've got. I want to get done with it and go on. Polyshades is a great product. It's very easy to use, very convenient. But if you're trying to build something that's got a little more gloss to it, or you've got a very specific finish, I'd recommend a two-step product. Now, you have some choices. If you just want to put a finish on that piece of wood and you're not staining it, you're just wanting to protect it and leave a clear finish, tongue oil is a great option. Formby's also makes a tongue oil in a high gloss and a low gloss. This is a varnish that you're going to apply with a rag, wipe on, let it dry, do a little sanding, maybe apply second coat. I'm a big fan of tongue oil finishes. Mineral oil is also an option if you're doing anything that's going to be in contact with food. So if you're refinishing, say, a cutting board, mineral oil is good for that. It doesn't hold up very long, so you have to redo it from time to time. The last option would be something like a polyurethane or a polyacrylic, which is a very high density finish that you're going to apply over the surface. This is great for anything that you want a very high gloss finish over a stain, but that you need to have a very durable finish. The last one would be spar varnish. Spar varnish is anything that's going to be outside. So this has a UV protection layer in it that will hold up. So if you're thinking about a project like this, come and see us. Bring us pictures of the project. Look at the options we've got. We can help guide you through those steps and get you everything you're going to need to take that project on from start to finish and really end up with a beautiful new piece of furniture or woodwork that's going to bring life back to your home.
Pictures do 1,000 words. Like you said, if you bring pictures of the project you're working on, maybe if you find, say you're looking for a certain finish or looking at texture or color, and you say another picture of that same furniture, bring that in as well. Say, look, I'm trying to make this look like that. How do we make that happen? And a lot of times you guys will go through and say, okay, you need to go with this product or whatever else. And
absolutely.
And so the more pictures, the more info, the better. So
absolutely, we can definitely help you pick those right options and get to the final product that you want.
Sure, absolutely. So come by the Builders Do It Center, South Main here in Roswell. They're on Main Street in Artesia as well for folks living in that area. Come by and like I said, if you've got projects that are like this, or maybe this, we're talking about nice tomorrow, maybe you want to tackle one of these deck projects or something outdoors. Like maybe you're laying a pathway or something like that. Come on by. They got all the materials for all that stuff too.
Absolutely.
Very good. Maybe have we done a pathway yet? Maybe that's
we have not. Landscaping might be a good thing to talk about. We don't do a lot of lawn and garden, but we do a little bit, and we'd be happy to offer some advice for anybody thinking about taking on that type of project this spring.
March might be a good time to do that because that's about when everyone starts thinking about that.
Absolutely.
Kind of stuff. So perfect. And again, if you missed any of our previous ones, their Builders Do It Center has a YouTube channel. That's probably the quickest way to find all of our previous episodes there. You can rifle through our Facebook and find them there as well, but you're going to do a little digging. They're all right there and easily accessible. If you follow, there's links to the Builders Do It Center Facebook page as well. You'll find them there too. So
absolutely.
And the old-fashioned way, just come on down and talk to somebody, and they'll put you in the right direction. On
absolutely, we'd be happy to point you to where you need to go.
Awesome. Well, Justin, as always, appreciate it, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks, and we'll see what next project we want to tackle there.
Absolutely. I do want to remind everybody, we are, just because we're coming up to the last couple of days of it, we are currently running a buy one, get one free on all our Dunn Edwards paint. So if you're thinking about a paint project this spring,
at least buy the paints now.
Now is the time to come. Now through Tuesday, when we close Tuesday, it's done. But between now and then, it is buy one, get one. If you buy a gallon, we'll give you a gallon for free.
That's right.
If you buy 100 gallons, we'll give you 100 gallons for free.
Wow.
Go ahead and tint it now, pick your colors, and we'd love to take care of you. So
that's right. You don't have to do the projects this weekend, but you can get the paints for it.
No, paint stores quite well. Just keep it from freezing, and it'll last a good long while.
Perfect. And then also ask about the rewards program.
Absolutely. Our Best Rewards program is up and running, and we'd love to give you a little something back for shopping with us.
Sure.
Because we very much appreciate your business.
Absolutely. Especially if you're one of those folks who maybe just bought a fixer-upper house or something like that. You could probably benefit big time from something like a rewards program where you're going to be in and out purchasing a lot of things. You could save a ton of cash doing this. And if you're doing that project, buy all your paint now. Like you said, 2 for 1.
It's hard to beat.
Sure, you could save hundreds of dollars depending on how much paint you buy here.
Absolutely.
Easily. So very good. Well, Justin, appreciate it as always. We'll see you here in a couple weeks.
See you in a few weeks, Mike. Looking forward to it.
As am I.